Good evening, welcome to California Today. I'm Liang Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's stories. As gas prices continue rising, some Californians are looking for ways to cut back on the expense. One option they're considering is public transportation. A grassroots-led recall in Shasta County unseated a former county supervisor. Locals share their reasons for initiating the recall effort. Yesterday evening, Governor Gavin Newsom gave his annual State of the State address. In the 18-minute speech, he talked about gas prices, homelessness, and the pandemic, among other issues. But Californians have a differing view on the governor's performance.
The annual State of the State address is an opportunity for a state's governor to reflect back on the successes over the past year, upcoming challenges, and suggestions for improvement.
It's a moment to reflect on what it means to live in a society where elected leaders still settle our disagreements, by and large, with civility and compromise.
Governor Newsom used Tuesday evening's address to tout his solutions for the state's growing homelessness problem, rising theft and crime, need for education reform, but he did not go into detail about specific steps. Locals share their thoughts on how they think the governor is running the state.
He clearly doesn't care about people of California.
Others say Newsom is doing okay, but there is still room for improvement.
First, number one is the homelessness, and after that, if they can if they can install more police force.
People agree that the state needs to do better on handling homelessness.
And they just keep moving the homeless people from place to place, and it's out of control. There are hundreds of people, and it's homeless people in our town, and they're not helping them. I'd like to see some changes with that and actually helping the people.
Coming from Detroit, I don't see too much differentiation in the crime. I know a lot of big cities have crime issues. As far as homelessness, though, there's definitely a bigger homeless population than in Detroit.
Some people said they felt the governor handled the pandemic poorly.
I think he's handled it horribly, shutting down the entire state, a bunch of small businesses going out of business, closed, shut down.
People say they want better representation.
We can use some better representation, someone who's going to actually represent the people and voice their opinions.
He's doing a good job, but put some more effort into it.
California's 2022 gubernatorial election is set for November 8th. Newsom is running for re-election for a second term after surviving a recall election in 2021.
Gas prices are still on the rise. For some people seeking ways to cut down the gas expenses, public transit is becoming a popular alternative. NTD's Adelina Sotani finds out just how much you can save by taking public transit compared to driving.
As some gas prices hit a high of nearly $7 per gallon in the California Bay Area, some locals are looking for cheaper alternatives. Caltrain, a local public transit agency, jokingly suggested an innovative idea in a Twitter post. BART, like Caltrain, welcomes more people to choose public transportation as a cheaper alternative to driving.
Well, we're not happy that prices are going up for people who are putting gasoline in their cars, but we are happy to welcome them to BART should they want to use public transportation and save money and save the environment at the same time.
Allison said BART is working hard on upgrading its train stations.
We rebuilt them, made them safer, more welcoming, and more clean.
Today we are at Berryessa North San Jose, last station on the BART train here in San Jose. You take the train from here all the way 1 hour to Embarcadero, San Francisco. That is only $5. It's half the price and half the time if you were to drive your car.
Allison added that BART fares have remained the same over the past 2 years.
Now that people are paying so much money at the gas pump, we haven't had a price increase since January of 2020.
Taking public transportation can cost half the price while avoiding notorious Bay Area traffic. Some Bay Area residents are riding BART for the first time.
I need to go to San Francisco to do a small job, and because of the gas prices, I'm not taking my car right now. So I thought about taking alternate transportation.
Locals say time spent on the road is a major factor in deciding on whether to take public transit.
A gallon of gas is not something I even wanted to think about, so that's another reason actually. But the time was the main factor. But gas is getting up there, so I think I'll be on BART for a while. I don't want to spend, $90 a tank.
Emily Hodges, a South Bay resident, says she travels to Berkeley once a week, but no longer drives because
I drove a couple times and it was a pain. There was a lot of traffic and parking is hard to find. So this was just more convenient.
Hodges added that she enjoys the train ride.
It's nice, it's relaxing, and you don't have to drive.
BART sees approximately 432,000 trips on weekdays and 126 million trips annually. During peak commute hours, nearly 25,000 people ride through the Transbay Tube into downtown San Francisco.
Adelina Soltane, NTD News, California.
Most people think of crops if they hear about genetically modified organisms, but there is a totally new kind that may be coming to California. Mosquitoes, millions of them, and it's in an effort to lower the numbers of their disease-causing counterparts. But not everyone is on board.
The Environmental Protection Agency approved a plan to release millions of genetically modified mosquitoes into both Florida and California on Tuesday. According to Oxitec, the biotech company spearheading the program, the goal is to decrease the number of naturally born mosquitoes that are also disease vectors. Oxitec, a UK-based firm funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, has planned to partner with the Delta Mosquito and Vector Control District in Tulare County. The species of mosquito involved is Aedes aegypti, an invasive species. The species is colloquially known as the yellow fever mosquito and can be found throughout the entire state. They can also spread dengue fever, Zika virus, and several other diseases. Oxitec have modified male mosquito genes to produce offspring that never survive to maturity. Male mosquitoes do not suck blood while females do. J.D. Hansen, policy director for the Center for Food Safety, said, "The experiment is unnecessary and even dangerous." He said, "California has no locally acquired cases of the diseases the mosquitoes transmit." Hansen added, "Releasing billions of GE mosquitoes makes it likely that female GE mosquitoes will get out and create hybrid mosquitoes that are more virulent and aggressive." Oxitec's program began in Florida last year, releasing millions into the state. Whether the California program starts now depends on regulators' decisions. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California.
San Francisco dropped more of its vax mandates. According to the city and county website, San Francisco will no longer require proof of receiving jabs or a negative test to enter certain indoor public settings. Those settings include indoor restaurants, bars, gyms, and fitness studios. But businesses can make decisions on their own. Earlier requirements are still in place for indoor mega events of 1,000 or more people. Last week, Shasta County sworn in a new supervisor following a lengthy recall effort that unseated a former county supervisor. Locals say the official did not represent their voices on county issues. NTD's Cynthia Kai spoke with some locals to hear more about why they recalled a Republican in a highly conservative area.
Nearly 2 years ago, a group of parents, business owners, medical workers, and teachers launched a recall effort to replace District 2 Supervisor Leonard Modi. The group, called Recall Shasta, says they want someone who can better represent their voices on county issues, such as COVID-19 mask and jab mandates, homelessness, among other policies.
Our founders constantly, and our past presidents constantly speak to the duty being the people's, to restrain their government from benefiting themselves.
She urges people to be more engaged with their government and to hold them accountable.
We've had it so good for so long economically, in particular economically, that the people let the government take the reins. And what we've seen is that allows for corruption, and it's dangerous.
Recall Shasta petitioned and gathered signatures amidst the smoky 2021 fire season.
A lot of older
people, younger people, we've all come together through this one issue of liberty and freedom.
The Shasta County clerk certified election results on February 17th. About 56% of votes were in favor of recalling Modi, and Tim Garman won the seat with 38% of votes. Modi is a retired police chief and self-described Republican. He told CNN,
"It's very disheartening to me to have a group be able to spend that much money to personally assault my reputation that I worked for 44 years to build in my hometown."
He also told The Guardian that he is done with politics, but plans to stay in Shasta County for now. Modi did not respond to NTD's requests for an interview. However, Tim Garman, the newly elected District 2 supervisor, like the other locals we talked to, said they wish to see increased accountability, transparency, and representation from elected officials.
I think we were tired of lack of representation to the people. We were all, myself included, I was just frustrated that our county supervisor was not working for us. And I think people in general across our country are to the point where they're frustrated with that and they want their government back.
Patrick Jones, the current District 4 supervisor, said he saw the public was held outside and unable to take part in public board meetings, something he did not agree with.
And so I decided to open up the boardroom on my own accord and let the public come in. And I did that. And we've been open to the public ever since.
Similarly, many Shasta County residents also pointed to the board meetings as a tipping point. Locals described the recall as a course correction in their view. They described Shasta County as a highly conservative area that is both family and tradition oriented.
We live in a constitutional republic, which means that you are elected to represent your constituents and you do what your constituents want. If your constituents are conservative, they elect conservative representation. If they're liberal, they elect a liberal representation.
NTD spoke to 10 interviewees who all expressed they may not have the power to make changes on the federal or state level, but they believe they can start with local changes.
These Shasta County locals say they believe the recall results were a step in the right direction. Moving forward, they hope the momentum continues in order to protect people's constitutional rights and the county's values. Reporting in Shasta County, Cynthia Kai, NTD News.
A Northern Californian who allegedly faked her own kidnapping was released from jail after a family posted bail. 39-year-old Sherry Papini's bail was set at $120,000, according to the Sacramento Bee. The U.S. magistrate judge agreed that Papini was not a flight risk or a threat to community. Her family posted bail as she ran from a group of reporters. Papini was arrested Thursday on charges of lying to federal agents. She is additionally accused of defrauding the state's victim compensation program of $30,000. The faked kidnapping took place in November 2016. Coming up, inheriting property in California may come with a heavy tax bill. One executive says these taxes have consequences. California-based electric vehicle maker Rivian is being sued. One of the shareholders said the startup deceived customers about the prices of their vehicles. And a U.S. citizen was caught trying to smuggle reptiles in through the southern border. We didn't hear how he was trying to do it. That and more on California Today. Anyone inheriting property in California may receive a shocking tax bill 1 year after the fact. One executive from a taxpayers association explains the new inheritance tax and its consequences.
In February 2021, Proposition 19, also known as the Property Tax Transfers, Exemptions, and Revenue for Wildfire Agencies and Counties Amendment, went into effect in California. As a result, those who inherit property have 1 year to make it their primary residence. Otherwise, it will be reassessed at market value, which leads to a significant tax increase.
When the parents die, the kids get a new tax bill in the mail with the sympathy cards. It's horrible.
Susan Shelley, Vice President of Communications for the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, told California insider Siamak Horami that the purpose was to generate more sales by making the market turn over more often.
But here's something that people don't realize about Proposition 19. Affordable housing in California will be wiped out in a generation because all of these older apartment buildings that are family owned, the mom and pop landlords, when they pass away and the kids inherit those 4-unit, 6-unit, 10-unit buildings, duplexes, they will be reassessed to market value.
Shelley said if those units and buildings are rented, the new owners will have to increase rent for tenants or sell that building because they wouldn't be able to pay those taxes.
And they're not going to be able to raise the rent because of rent control, and the tenants will end up evicted and the building will end up sold. And you do that across the whole state of California for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you're going to wipe out all that older affordable housing stock. And that is a disaster. That helps no one.
The proposition also allocates additional revenue or net savings to wildfire agencies and counties.
Firefighting is a state priority, or should be. It should be funded from the general fund before they fund anything else. That's extremely important. It should not be funded through trickery and gimmicks on the backs of people who have just lost a parent. That's just wrong.
The California Association of Realtors backed Prop 19 with about $50 million. Shelley and the Taxpayers Association have been trying to educate the public and voters to defeat Proposition 19 and 15. Prop 15 would have forced reassessment of all commercial property in the state to market value, which would hurt businesses. They hope to revert the law back to allow the property transfer without reassessment. They need to collect 1 million signatures by mid-April.
Electric vehicle automaker Rivian is facing a lawsuit over the price of its vehicles. The plaintiff says the company intentionally undervalued their cars ahead of their initial public offering in November.
Californian electric vehicle maker Rivian Automotive has been sued by a shareholder. He claims the startup failed to tell investors that it underpriced its vehicles, resulting in price hikes that it later pulled back. The plaintiff, Charles Larry Cruz, filed the complaint on Monday in a U.S. District Court in San Francisco. He alleges Irvine-based Rivian underpriced its R1 SUV and R1T pickup truck so much that the company had to hike prices after its November initial public offering. Cruz said raising prices in that manner would damage the company's reputation and risk cancellation of many pre-ordered vehicles dating back to 2018. The backlash followed Rivian's March 1st price hike on the R1S and R1T models. The R1S went from $70,000 up to $84,500. The R1T rose from $67,500 to $79,500. Rivian's CEO R.J. Scaringe said the price hike would not affect pre-orders. Scaringe added that customers could reinstate pre-orders, as some had canceled their orders following the price change. Cruz's lawsuit names Scaringe and IPO underwriters Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, and Morgan Stanley.
Riverside County District announced on Tuesday that an arrest was made for a cold case from 28 years ago. Sherry Huss was found stabbed to death in Desert Hot Springs in 1994. Her attacker also bit her. Recent DNA sampling from the bite led to the arrest of 48-year-old Sharon Eugene Gadlin. Gadlin was arrested on Friday with a bail set to $1 million. For anyone who doesn't like creepy crawlies, the next piece may not be for you. That's because the Border Patrol caught the man smuggling reptiles. 52 of them, all in his clothing.
From the U.S. Custom and Border Protection, or CBP, caught the man and the reptiles at the San Ysidro port of entry, according to a Tuesday announcement. The 30-year-old man, a U.S. citizen, was caught around 3 a.m. on February 25th. Border Patrol found 52 bagged-up reptiles identified as 43 horned lizards and 9 snakes. The man concealed them in his jacket, pants pockets, and other areas. CBP seized the reptiles along with his vehicle. The reptiles are now secure, safe, and quarantined due to some species being endangered, according to the announcement. The seizure was a coordinated effort by Homeland Security Investigations San Diego, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and Customs and Border Protection.
Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
As always, I'm Thomas Christian, taking you to the California Today Sports Roundup. 5 different golfers have a chance to sit on the proverbial throne as world number 1 at the conclusion of the Players' Championship this weekend in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland of Norway, Patrick Cantlay, and Scotty Scheffler are all within striking, or Spaniard John Rahm could retain the title for the 42nd week of his career when Scheffler moved into 5th in the world golf ranking following Sunday's victory at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. It made this the first week in the history of the ranking system that each of the top 5 players are all younger than 30 years old. Players Champion earns 80 OWGR points, whereas standard tournaments dole out a much smaller number of points that varies by the strength of field. That big prize creates scenarios where Morikawa, Hovland, Cantlay, or Scheffler could overtake Rahm, who's held on to number 1 since the 2021 Open Championship. Morikawa and Hovland became tour rookies at the same time in 2019 and have not needed much time to make their mark, particularly Morikawa, who has won 2 majors. It would be a particularly unparalleled rise for Scheffler, who has competed on tour and helped the victorious U.S. Ryder Cup team last fall, but finally broke through with his first 2 PGA Tour wins over his past 3 starts. For his part, Rahm said he had no idea so many players were on his tail. Indian Wells organizers said on Tuesday that world number 2 Novak Djokovic had been placed in the tournament's draw, but it was unclear if the Serbian would be permitted to enter the United States. The 20-time Grand Slam winner has refused to obtain a COVID-19 vaccine, previously said he was prepared to miss tournaments as a consequence. Indian Wells' men's draw on Tuesday showed he is a first-round bye. The CDC website as of March 3rd indicates that non-U.S. citizens who are not immigrants must show proof of vaccination against COVID-19 in order to travel by air to the United States. Djokovic was unable to compete at the Australian Open after immigration authorities detained him on January 6th, prompting a legal roller coaster ride after the country's COVID-19 entry rules that led to the cancellation of his visa later that month. The California tournament, often referred to as tennis' 5th major, is expected to welcome a full house after it was canceled in 2020 and moved to October last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The women's first round begins Wednesday, while the men's starts on Thursday, with former world number 1 Roger Federer out of the tournament as he recovers from knee surgery, and Djokovic, previously presumed absent. Spaniard Rafa Nadal was widely favored to pick up his 4th Indian Wells title and a men's record-extending 22nd Grand Slam title at the French Open after winning the Australian Open in January. Djokovic most recently competed in Dubai in February, where Czech Jiří Veselý stunned him in the quarterfinals. The loss meant that he would lose his number 1 ranking to Russian Daniil Medvedev, who claimed his maiden major title in Flushing Meadows in September and is the top seed at Indian Wells. As always, I'm Thomas Christian, and thanks for tuning in.
And that's all we have for you tonight. We'd love to have you back on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Feel free to let us know if you have any news tips for our show. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our website. I'm Lang Zhang. We'll see you next time.